13 points of mental bandwidth can disappear under heavy money stress, and that can mean missed bills, worse choices, and real dollars lost. So if you know what to do, why do you still freeze? Chronic money stress can raise cortisol, disrupt memory systems linked to the hippocampus, reduce working memory, and lock your attention onto the next urgent problem instead of the longer plan. So if you feel stretched, stuck, or under pressure, the real question is not just, why can't I get it together? It is, has stress started changing how I think? Welcome to the quiet side of money. No hype, just systems. And the first payoff is this. The first big financial win is often not a higher return or a perfect budget. It is getting back enough mental space to think clearly again. If that already makes something click for you, tap like. So more people stop mistaking overload for laziness. Because once you see what money stress does to the brain, a lot of confusing behavior starts to make sense. The forgotten password, the unopened bill, the message from the bank you meant to answer yesterday, and then somehow did not. The strange feeling of staring at a simple decision as if it arrived in another language. Here is the clean version. Short bursts of stress can sharpen your reactions. Chronic stress does something else. It keeps your system on alert for too long. Cortisol is part of the body's stress response. In the right moment, it helps you act. But when money pressure keeps showing up every week, that same system stops being a useful alarm and starts becoming a drag on attention, memory, and judgment. The hippocampus helps form and organize memory. The prefrontal cortex helps you hold information in mind, compare options, and plan. Working memory is the brain's short-term mental workspace. When financial stress becomes chronic, those systems do not usually perform at their best. That is why you can know the right move and still struggle to make it. One of the most widely cited findings in scarcity research is that heavy financial pressure can produce a temporary drop in cognitive performance that looks a lot like losing a night of sleep. That does not mean people under pressure are less intelligent. It means bandwidth gets consumed, the brain has fewer free hands. And when that happens, the brain stops asking, what is best over the next 5 years? It starts asking, what hurts first? That shift explains a lot. The overdue utility notice suddenly fills the whole screen. The card payment due in 2 days feels louder than the better plan you meant to build. The future narrows. You still care about savings, debt payoff, and long-term stability. You just cannot hold all of it in view at once. That is the tunnel effect of money stress. Attention gets pulled toward the nearest threat. Everything else fades at the edges. This is where a lot of videos miss the point. They turn everything into mindset. Just be disciplined. Just focus. Just stop emotional spending. But if your brain is carrying rent stress, debt pressure, poor sleep, irregular income, and constant low-grade fear, just focus is not an explanation. It is a slogan. There is a reason people under financial strain often describe the same strange mix of feelings. Hyper-alert, but forgetful. Busy, but stuck. Ashamed, but numb. You think about money all day, yet the actual money tasks still pile up. That contradiction is not random. It is the pattern. A brain under repeated threat does not become more strategic. It becomes more selective. It pushes attention toward the closest problem. In real life, that can look like paying the loudest bill first, even when a quieter debt is charging around 22% interest. It can look like stress spending after a hard day because the body wants relief before it wants efficiency. It can look like putting off a form that would save you money because the form asks for 6 pieces of information and your working memory is already full. Then shame walks in and makes the whole thing worse. Shame is not just a bad feeling. It changes behavior. It makes you avoid the app, avoid the envelope, avoid the call, avoid the full picture. Then the avoidance creates more chaos, and the chaos starts to feel like evidence that you are failing, even though the original problem was overload. And this is not rare. In a recent Federal Reserve survey, 37% of adults said they could not cover a $400 emergency using cash or its equivalent. So if $400 feels huge to you, that is not some strange, private flaw. A lot of people are one surprise away from mental static. Now connect that to your brain. If your car needs a $340 repair 3 days before payday, That is not just a math problem, it is a nervous system event. Before the repair, there was a plan. After the repair, there is triage. Something gets delayed. A balance goes up. A fee lands. Next month starts tilted before it even begins. This is what chronic money stress does so well. It turns small disruptions into long shadows. And when that pattern repeats, the future starts to feel less real. Retirement sounds distant. Investing sounds abstract. Ownership feels like a world other people live in. Not because those things do not matter, but because a brain under threat is built to care about Friday before it cares about 15 years from now. That is why so many people say, "I know what I should do. I just can't make myself do it." That line sounds irrational until you understand bandwidth. Then it sounds painfully accurate. So by this point, one question should already feel answered. If you freeze, forget, or avoid when money gets tight, that does not automatically mean you lack discipline. Very often, it means your brain has been running emergency code for too long. But that opens the harder question. If stress has narrowed your attention, how do you widen it again when you do not have piles of extra money? Here is the turn. The goal is not to become more intense about money. The goal is to make money slightly less intense. That sounds small, but it changes everything. What hits your focus hardest right now? Rent, debt, groceries, or unpredictable income? Put one in the comments, because the practical part of this is not glamorous. Your brain under pressure does not need a heroic plan. It needs fewer fires. Start by reducing repeated alarms. Move bill due dates closer to payday if you can. Set minimum payments to autopay when the cash flow is there. Turn on low balance alerts before the overdraft shows up, not after. Cancel the subscription that keeps turning into a monthly argument with yourself over $17. None of this is exciting. That is exactly why it works. You are not trying to impress anybody. You are trying to lower the number of things your brain has to carry while stressed. Then build the tiny buffer most people underestimate. Not 3 months right away. Not some giant target that makes you tired just hearing it. Start with $100, then $250, then $500. That first buffer is not flashy. It is life-changing in a very quiet way. A $100 cushion can stop a pharmacy bill from going on a high-interest card. A $250 cushion can keep one late payment from becoming a fee plus interest plus panic. A $500 cushion can turn a tire problem from a crisis into a disruption. It does not solve everything. It breaks the chain reaction. And that matters neurologically as much as financially because it changes what your brain expects. The next surprise no longer automatically means collapse. That is the hidden power of a small emergency fund. It is not only money, it is evidence. Evidence that not every problem will become a disaster. Once that starts to happen, your mental horizon gets a little wider. This is where a simple system helps more than a clever one. 3 buckets is enough for many people: bills, buffer, future. Bills cover fixed essentials. Buffer catches shocks. Future is where long-term progress lives, even if it starts embarrassingly small. If your income is irregular, do not force a fixed dollar promise every time. Use a percentage. Even 1 to 3% of each deposit creates motion without pretending your life is more stable than it is. That matters because systems protect you when memory is tired. Then there is debt. High-interest debt is not only expensive, it is noisy. At around 22% APR, every $1,000 can cost roughly $223 a year in interest before you even count the emotional wear. So, if possible, keep minimums current, then send extra money toward the highest interest balance first. Not because it sounds tough, because reducing the cost of survival creates breathing room faster. Notice the order: fewer fires, small buffer, simpler routing, lower harmful interest. That order matters. A lot of people are told to jump straight to growth, but for many low and middle-income households, stability is the doorway to growth. Once basic shocks stop hijacking the week, then longer-term moves begin to make sense. That could mean taking an employer match if one exists and if it does not throw your monthly cash flow back into chaos. Later, it can mean broad, diversified, low-cost investing over a long horizon. No drama, no promises, just the quiet logic of owning productive assets over time. But none of that works well if every month still feels like weather you have to survive. So here is the deeper reframe. Wealth is not only a number on paper, it is also the amount of panic standing between you and a decision. If two people both earn $3,000 a month, but one has a $500 buffer, fewer fees, and one automated system, that person does not just have slightly better finances, they have more usable attention. That is a real asset. And here is a practical payoff you can use this week. Once a week, take 60 seconds and ask only 2 questions. What can hit me in the next 7 days? What one call, transfer, or change would lower that hit? That is enough. Not your entire life plan, not your 10-year vision, just the next 7 days. This works because tunnel vision is easier to break with a short horizon first. Then you widen it. Then you widen it again. Maybe the answer is moving $25 into your buffer. Maybe it is changing a due date. Maybe it is setting one minimum payment on autopay. Maybe it is checking whether the account can cover groceries and transport before the weekend. Small move, real control. And now we can pay off the opening claim. The first major financial win is often not making more money overnight. It is helping your brain feel less cornered. Because a less cornered brain remembers more, plans better, avoids less, sees farther. It is easier to protect your future when your present is not screaming at you. So if you have felt scattered, frozen, forgetful, or oddly exhausted by simple money tasks, do not rush to call yourself lazy. Chronic stress changes attention. It changes memory. It changes what feels urgent. The good news is that the brain also responds to safety, not instantly, not perfectly, but it does. A small buffer helps. Fewer fees help. Simpler systems help. Lower harmful debt helps. Stability helps. And when stability shows up, even in small doses, long-term thinking stops feeling like fantasy and starts feeling possible. That is the kind of progress we care about on Wealth Mentor Pro. Not loud wins, not fake certainty, just more space, better decisions, and a financial life that stops attacking your brain every morning. The brain is not broken. It has been braced for impact for too long. Give it fewer impacts. If this gave you language for something you have been feeling, subscribe for more like this and watch the suggested next video.